Have you spoken to any of your Republican colleagues? And do you believe you can get 2 more of them to break ranks and vote with you?
I personally have not spoken to my Republican colleagues, but I know that other of my colleagues have. Now, well, all we need is for 2 more Republicans to grow a conscience, which has been sorely lacking for the last 4 years, as far as I'm concerned. So what I'm doing, Stephanie, is going on your program to let the American people know what's at stake, and it is their health care, because notice that the Republicans don't care who the nominee is. It will be somebody who will strike down the Affordable Care Act, which the Supreme Court will take up in November. So in the middle of a pandemic, they're still trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, and they will do so with this nominee, and they will steal yet another Supreme Court seat to do that. Millions of people will not have health care. Millions of people with pre-existing conditions will be out in the cold when the Supreme Court makes a decision to strike down the Affordable Care Act. That is the clear and present danger.
Senator, with all due respect, I wish my program had that kind of influence. Do you really think Republicans in the Senate are going to watch you on television and say, yes, time for me to not take Mitch McConnell's call? I'm guessing that is not going to work. Given
of course
that,
not.
do you have another plan to stop or slow this process?
We can use every tool to slow things down, but as you all have been reporting, Mitch McConnell has the votes. That's why he's going to do this, and never mind that he is lying through his teeth about what he said in 2016. They don't care. So this is going to happen, but in the meantime, though, we have an election coming up. People of this country need to know what's at stake. Their health care is at stake when we've had over 200,000 Americans die. So their health care is at stake with this nominee. Republicans don't care who this person is. She or she will vote against the Affordable Care Act, and the next on the hit list is going to be a woman's right to choose, abortion rights. So you can see that Roe v. Wade is going to be on the hit list. That's what's going to happen. And that's just for starters with whoever the president nominates for the Supreme Court.
If Republicans don't even care who the nominee is, they'll just vote them through. Do you care who the nominee is? Can you be 100% sure you oppose them without knowing their name?
I am 100% sure that I will not be able to support a nominee that will vote to strike down the Affordable Care Act, wiping out health care for millions of people, and I will not be able to support someone who will be against a woman's right to choose. And I have seen that. This has been 4 years of these kinds of ideologically driven people being put on the courts at all levels, including the Supreme Court, circuit courts, district courts. That is what the Republicans want. They have been totally focused for decades on making sure that these ideologically driven people with their ideological agendas get on to the courts. I have been watching this for the last 4 years, Stephanie.
And the thing is, they've been doing this for decades, and it's working. This would be the 3rd Supreme Court justice seated, and we know federal judges have, in record numbers, have taken seats on the bench in the last 3 years. You have said you're going to use every tool at your disposal. What tool? What tool do you have that you can use to stop this?
We can try and slow things down, but the biggest tool we have is the awareness, the knowledge of the American people that they're about to get screwed. I'm very clear about what's going to happen. So when the Supreme Court takes up the Affordable Care Act in November, whoever Trump nominates will vote to strike down that law. So I'm very clear on that. And so the American public need to get clear on that. That is a tool. You know what? It is the American people who are not going to stand for this. That is my hope. That's why I go on your show and other shows to let people know that this is what's at stake. Our health care is at stake.
Thank you so much for bringing that up, because I know you've got a lot on your plate. So while the Senate is focused on this, which is hugely important, you don't have as your number one priority figuring out the next round of stimulus to help people dealing with this pandemic.
Of course.
People out of work, people without health care. What is the possibility anything gets done before Election Day? People are suffering today.
I completely agree. And here's Mitch McConnell, who has no sense of urgency. The House passed the HEROES Act. He's been sitting on it for over 4 months. And do you think that helping the people of America get through this pandemic is the uppermost in his mind? Of course not. Because if it were, we would have acted on the HEROES Act 4 months ago. So that's not on his list. The Republicans are not. You know what? He wants to take a pause. He's taken a pause on getting COVID relief done for the last over 4 months. And so the Democrats are very clear on what we need to do to help the unemployment benefits that we need to shore up, the support that we need to give to the postal services so that we need to support the state and local governments, huge shortfalls. We need to support our schools so they can open safely. We need to support our essential workers. So there's a whole array which Mitch McConnell could give a rip about, but we Democrats do.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.